Akamar, home to a dying race of beautiful alien women. And Craig Shaw intended to save them all through the miracle of interspecies breeding, even if it meant filling the bellies of his entire alien girl harem himself. Craig never planned on becoming the galaxy's most prolific baby daddy when he crash-landed on Akamar. His ship crippled after a malfunction, the lone human explorer found himself badly injured, helpless, and at the mercy of the alien world. Fate smiled upon him when a tribe of striking Akamarian females led by their intriguing leader Taurus discovered him and brought him back to their village. As Taurus tended to Craig's wounds, he learned the tragic history of her people. A deadly virus had swept through Akamar, wiping out every last male and robbing the females of their ability to reproduce. The once thriving Akamarian civilization now stood on the brink of extinction. In Craig, they saw a spark of hope. He represented their one chance to continue their lineage. The Akamarian High Council, in an act of desperation, issued a mandate. To ensure the survival of their species, the human stranger must take a harem of their most fertile women and sire the next generation. Though taken aback at first, Craig soon realized the arrangement could be mutually beneficial. By agreeing to father the Akamarians' children, he would gain access to the resources needed to repair his ship and continue his journey back to Earth. And so, with a mix of duty, scientific curiosity, and no small amount of male pride, Craig accepted the Council's decree. But not all on Akamar celebrated the plan. A faction of purist rebels viewed the human as an inferior specimen, unfit to father Akamarian offspring. They began scheming in secret, hatching a sinister plot to assassinate Craig and put an end to the Council's breeding program before it could even begin. As Craig grew closer to his new Akamarian family and his relationship with Taurus blossomed into something deeper, she revealed to him wonderful yet terrifying news. She was carrying his child, the first human Akamarian hybrid, a beacon of hope for her kind, but also a target for those who sought to keep Akamar pure. Surrounded by an adoring harem, all growing round with his progeny, yet hounded by rebels intent on destroying everything he was working to build, Craig faced the greatest challenge of his life. He would need to rely on his human ingenuity, tenacity, and passion to protect his new family and ensure the future of the Akamarian race, all while unraveling the mysteries of this alien world that had become his home. The survival of an entire species and the fate of his unborn children now rested on his shoulders. As Craig's alien harem blossomed with the new life growing inside them, the once peaceful Akamarian village crackled with tension. Craig and Taurus ventured beyond the settlement's borders, gathering vital resources to sustain the expectant mothers. Taurus's keen senses were on high alert, her hand never straying far from the holstered plasma pistol at her hip. Suddenly, a burst of energy fire erupted from the dense foliage. Taurus shoved Craig to the ground, shielding him with her body as she returned fire. But the rebels had the advantage of surprise. A searing bolt caught Taurus in the shoulder, spinning her to the ground. Craig scrambled for his own weapon, but a rebel boot slammed down on his wrist. The rebel leader emerged from the shadows, a sneer twisting his angular features. "Leave now, human," he spat, "or we'll splatter your mate's brains across the forest floor." Craig's heart pounded as the rebels dragged a semi-conscious Taurus away. He knew he had to act fast. Racing back to the village, he cobbled together a hasty arsenal, a plasma cutter, a handful of flash grenades, a makeshift shield fashioned from scavenged hull plating. Under the cover of darkness, Craig infiltrated the rebel compound. Moving with a stealth that belied his bulky frame, he neutralized the perimeter guards with swift, silent efficiency. As alarms blared, he charged into the heart of the rebel base, a one-man army fueled by desperation and raw, human grit. In a brutal, close-quarters battle, Craig cut through the rebel ranks. Plasma bolts sizzled past his head as he ducked and weaved, his makeshift shield absorbing the brunt of the barrage. With a primal roar, he stormed the cell block, blasting the lock off Taurus's cage. He gathered her battered form in his arms, supporting her weight as they fought their way to freedom. Back in the village, Craig paced outside the medical bay, his knuckles raw and bloodied. When Taurus finally emerged, her face was etched with sorrow. The baby, she whispered, her voice breaking. The stress, the injuries. I lost it. Craig pulled her close, his own tears mingling with hers. The loss hit him like a physical blow, but he knew he couldn't waver. Not now, with so much at stake. The Akamarian Council convened an emergency session, the air thick with fear and uncertainty. Some members advocated sending Craig away, insisting his presence only endangered them further. Others argued that abandoning the breeding program would seal their race's extinction. Craig burst into the chamber, his eyes blazing with willpower. I swore an oath to save your people, he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. I won't run. I won't hide. I'll fight to my last breath to protect every single mother and child. This is my home now. You are my family. And I'll be damned if I let anyone tear that away. The council deliberated in tense silence. Finally, the matriarch stood, fixing Craig with a piercing gaze. The human has proven his worth, she announced. The program will continue, and you, Taurus, will serve as his personal guard. Together, you will safeguard our future. In a remote, heavily fortified bunker, Craig and Taurus prepared for the final stage of the pregnancy. The expectant mothers rested in secluded comfort, blissfully unaware of the gathering storm outside. Rebel scouts probed the perimeter, their numbers growing by the day. Hushed whispers spoke of an imminent attack, a last-ditch effort to purge Akamar of the hybrid abominations. As the birth drew near, Craig and Taurus maintained a watchful vigil, their weapons always at the ready. They knew the hardest battle was yet to come. The fate of a species hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. Craig wiped sweat from his brow as he finished welding the final panel of the perimeter defense system. The hidden compound deep in the Akamarian wilderness was now fortified and ready. He glanced at Taurus, who nodded approvingly. It's time, she said. Let's bring them in. Under cover of darkness, Craig and Taurus escorted the pregnant Akamarian females from the village to their new sanctuary. The women waddled along, their swollen bellies a testament to the hope Craig had brought to this dying world. As the last female settled into her quarters, alarms blared. Craig's jury-rigged sensors had detected movement at the outer perimeter. Rebels, Taurus hissed, drawing her weapon. Craig grabbed his makeshift rifle. Positions, everyone! Protect the mothers! A hail of energy bolts lit up the night. Craig dove for cover, returning fire as rebel forces swarmed the compound. He shouted orders to the loyal Akamarian guards, coordinating their defense with practiced efficiency. Taurus, take your squad and flank left, Craig yelled over the din of battle. I'll lead a team right. They moved in perfect sync, years of fighting side by side evident in every motion. Craig's human combat tactics caught the rebels off guard. He rolled from cover to cover, picking off enemies with precise shots. The rebel leader, realizing his forces were outmatched, turned to flee. Taurus pounced, tackling him to the ground. She bound his hands, hauling him before the pregnant harem for judgment. Craig stepped forward, his voice steady. I know the pain and anger you feel, but killing him won't heal those wounds. It will only create more hatred, more rebels. Let him live. Show mercy, and maybe others will see there's another way. The harem deliberated, tension thick in the air. Finally, the head female spoke. Exile, never return, or your life is forfeit. With the compound secured, focus shifted to the impending births. Craig paced nervously as labor cries echoed through the halls. One by one, tiny cries of new life joined the chorus. Then came a scream of agony that chilled Craig to his core. He burst into the birthing chamber to find an Akamarian female hemorrhaging after delivering twins. Without hesitation, he grabbed crude medical tools and got to work. Hold on, he urged, performing an emergency C-section with steady hands. You're going to make it. Hours later, exhausted but triumphant, Craig emerged. Word of his action spread quickly. Rebel defectors arrived daily, seeking forgiveness. As Craig cradled a newborn hybrid, marveling at its unique features, Taurus approached. She took his free hand, her eyes shining. Bond with me, she said softly. Stay. Be a father to our people. Craig looked from the baby to Taurus, his heart torn between two worlds. Craig wiped sweat from his brow as he finished treating another hybrid infant's infection. The makeshift clinic buzzed with activity, filled with the cries of newborns and the concerned murmurs of Acamarian mothers. He glanced at the dwindling supply of antibiotics salvaged from his crashed ship. "We're running low on meds," Craig said to Taurus as she entered, carrying more swaddled babies. "I'll need to jury-rig some equipment to synthesize more." Taurus nodded, her eyes weary, but determined. The envoys from the eastern villages arrived. They brought more sick and injured seeking your help. Craig sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We'll make room. No one gets turned away." Over the next weeks, Craig worked tirelessly to expand the compound. He repurposed storage areas into patient wards and cobbled together medical devices from spare parts. Taurus proved invaluable, organizing teams to construct new buildings and manage the influx of patients. As the hospital grew, so did their problems. Craig stared at the dwindling food stores, his stomach churning with worry. "We can't sustain this population on local resources," he told Taurus. "I need to find a solution." Craig ventured into the wilderness, scouting for suitable land. After days of searching, he discovered a lush river valley teeming with potential. Excitement coursed through him as he surveyed the area, mind racing with possibilities. Back at the compound, Craig threw himself into the work of establishing farms. He taught the Acamarians earth farming techniques, adapting them to the alien crops and livestock. Slowly but surely, fields of strange purple grains and pens of six-legged bovine creatures took shape. As the community developed, Craig noticed something remarkable about the hybrid children. Little Zara, barely a month old, was already forming words. Toddler Kex disassembled and reassembled a comm unit with startling ease. "They're advancing far faster than pure Acamarian young," Craig marveled to Taurus. "We need to nurture this potential." Craig established the settlement's first school, focusing on subjects that would push the hybrid's natural talents. He cobbled together learning materials from memory and his ship's damaged databanks. Not everything went smoothly, however. Craig entered the classroom one day to find chaos. 7-year-old twins Jax and Lex had somehow hacked into the compound's power grid, causing a localized blackout. "We just wanted to see how it worked," Jax protested as Craig sternly lectured the pair. The Acamarian mothers struggled with the rambunctious hybrid youth, unused to such willful behavior. Craig stepped in, guiding the children to channel their curiosity productively. "Instead of taking apart our systems," Craig told Jax and Lex, "why don't you help me design improvements? Put those big brains to work for the good of everyone." As the first hybrid generation grew, Craig watched with pride as they flourished under his tutelage. 14-year-old Zara was already tackling advanced calculus, while Kex showed a prodigious talent for engineering. Craig caught Taurus watching the teenagers with a mix of awe and trepidation. "They're incredible," she said softly. "But what will this mean for Acamar? For all of us?" Craig squeezed her hand reassuringly. "Change is coming," he said. "All we can do is guide them and hope for the best." In the distance, envoys from nearby Acamarian tribes watched the thriving settlement with keen interest, whispering among themselves about the implications of Craig's Humanari children.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.